I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting. Let the record show that all members of the council are present this evening with the exception of Councilman Kerr. Copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the meeting room and is accessible to members of the public at any time during the course of this meeting. First and foremost, I'm going to introduce Chief Bruce Lang, who is retiring from the police force, and he is going to introduce a guest to us, a guest who will become a very familiar face in the future. Chief Lang?
Mayor and Council. As your police chief for the last 30 years, it's been a very pleasurable and truly something I just never could have imagined when I came here at 36 years old, that I would be here this long and this happy. And it's really, I told Chief Hickman here that when he walked in, he's walking into a good job in a good city with a good mayor and a good council, and I truly, truly mean that. And with that, I would like to introduce to you Chief John Hickman. He will be your new Chief of Police starting June 4th, officially. We're doing a little transition and learning the ropes, be together for a while, but he's your new man. So,
John, welcome.
Thanks, sir.
And you have some guests with you also, John.
I do. This is my wife, Elizabeth.
Hello, Elizabeth.
My son, Colton, and my daughter, Savannah.
Colton, Savannah?
Savannah, yes, sir.
I like
and
that.
I also have a 19-year-old who's in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Very good.
I just want to say I'm very grateful and appreciative for the opportunity. Looking forward to stepping in and filling some really big shoes vacated by Chief Lang, and looking forward to just continuing the work that he's done.
Very good. Thank you very much.
No.
No, I just want to make sure he knows where the.
Bruce, will this be your last meeting that we'll see you?
Probably be my last meeting.
Well, stand back up here just a second then. We've had a little bit of conflicts over the years, but I've always considered you a friend of mine.
Me too.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job with, at times, limited resources.
Thank you.
I was here when we hired you.
I know.
And, you'd have to call Neil Tucker about it, but if Neil's still around. But I thought you'd come here at 36, shake things up, straighten things up, and there you'd go. And you stuck around, and I appreciate it. So congratulations on a long career that hasn't always been without skin knees, but you've really brought the department to where it needed to be. So, absolutely, you've been a coach for one of my boys. You knew both of my boys,
And my own son. So.
Yeah, absolutely. but no, I appreciate the way you handled my kids and the kids in the community, and I wish you all the best of luck in retirement. You deserved it and earned it. So.
Well, it isn't very often that a chief of police gets tapped to design a street.
Yep.
So I got the opportunity to do that. I got the opportunity to coach at the high school level. I got the opportunity to be involved with Special Olympics and all of the special needs programs. And, I always told my kids, to go someplace where you're appreciated and don't stay where you're not appreciated. That would explain why I'm here all this time. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief.
With that, there was quite a few folks that were interviewed for this position that John is taking over for. And I want to thank Chief Lang for his participation in the interviewing process, along with Tobias and Councilmans Morgan, Fairbanks, and McLean, our Civil Service Commission, the retired police officers that were a part of this, police chiefs, beg your pardon, the county sheriff, Dr. Blake Butler, Jason Alexander, Gina Heckey, Hospital Foundation Director, and Jackie Nielsen. So we want to thank those folks also for their participation in this process. And welcome the Hickman family.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is a proclamation. The proclamation is for the 2022 Preservation Month. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for sustainable growth and economic development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, enhancing livability, and maintaining unique community character. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by those helping to preserve the tangible aspects of our heritage, aspects that have shaped us as a people and have resulted in downtown Beatrice and other areas of our community to be recognized as National Historic Places. And whereas people saving places shall be the theme within Preservation Month in Beatrice, co-sponsored by Main Street Beatrice, Gage County Historical Society, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And whereas historic preservation is done to save our heritage for all generations. And whereas Beatrice residents can celebrate National Preservation Month by sharing stories, exploring and shopping in our community, and recognizing those who have invested their time and/or dollars to save local landmarks. Now therefore I, Stan Worth, Mayor of Beatrice, do hereby claim May 2022 as National Preservation Month and call upon the people of Beatrice to stake their claim and join their fellow citizens across the United States in participating in this special observance and to take action to preserve our places and stories. Witness my hand on official seal, City of Beatrice, the 16th day of May 2022. And we will get this to Main Street Director Michael Sothen, who will also share it then with the Historical Society. Next is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. First item is item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. C, receive and place on file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. D, approval of minutes of regular meeting on May 2nd, 2022, as on file in the City Clerk's office. E, approval of Treasurer's report of claims in the amount of $402,461.95. Item F, approval of Boswell report of claims in the amount of $58,677.18. G, approval of write-off of ambulance bad debts. H, award of bid for A.L. Green subdivision, lots 6 through 8, sanitary sewer extension project 2022 to Lammel Plumbing Incorporated in the amount of $82,907 as recommended by the Board of Public Works. And item I, resolution number 6889, reappointing Jackie Bornemeyer to the Community Redevelopment Authority. Any item that a council member wants removed from the consent agenda? Mr. Temple, or Mr. McLean, beg your pardon?
I move that the items listed under the consent agenda be approved, accepted, and/or ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by McLean, seconded by Morgan, that all items listed under the consent agenda be approved. Your vote, please. And that is approved 7-0. Next is a public hearing for the purpose of considering adoption of Plan NN to the redevelopment plan for redevelopment area number 2, which is the Hydo 323 Court Street redevelopment property.
So as the name indicates, this is 323 Court Street. It's a property the city has dealt with for quite some time. We were able to get it out of the hands of Mr. Helmick and also acquire the property and transfer it then to the Hydos, who are in the middle of rehabbing the property. They've made their application for tax increment financing. As everybody's aware, this first starts at CRA and then went to planning and zoning, then went back to CRA. Now it goes before this body. And then after hopefully your approval tonight, it'll go back to CRA for final approval with the redevelopment agreement. If you look through there, CRA is a recommended approval every time. Planning and zoning is recommended approval every time. CRA at their last meeting went through the cost benefit analysis and determined this was a net benefit for the city. What we're looking at doing here is remodeling that particular property. You'll see a commercial space go on the main floor, 2 apartments go in the upper living areas, what they're looking at there. Really, the only thing that's unique about this TIF project compared to other ones is in previous years, previous projects, we've been able to use site acquisition, outside infrastructure, those types of things to use up the TIF dollars that are out there. In this case, site acquisition, as you all recall, was $1, and so that doesn't quite take up much of their TIF money. And it's already a built-up lot, so there's not a lot of infrastructure built out at this point. And so what we're using, the different part of the statute allows for code compliance. And so that's what's being used to bring this particular property back up to a habitable situation. But that's your TIF application before you tonight.
Questions?
I read through it. I never saw a timeline. Did Hydo just give you a timeline?
They're in the middle of working on it right now. If you've been out there, the sidewalk's been poured. I think the next thing you'll see is the back addition come off. We had to get State Historical Preservation Office to sign off on that one. We're working through their downtown revitalization grant. I think you're in the middle of probably, I'd go conservative and say a year project for them, just because I know their contractor's busy, but they're moving on the property. They're not sitting on it.
Well, I had seen their work, and that's why I wondered. I just wondered how much crap they left, and the people that owned it left all their stuff in there, how much they actually left. I mean, they cleaned out some. I saw the 3 U-Hauls, but...
They took some. They did leave a lot, and the city worked with them on getting the rest of that stuff taken out of there and hauled away. And I know John's been in there working hard getting that stuff out.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
We should be very thankful that the Hydos have taken on this project.
Be another expensive building to knock down if we had to.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience? All right. Mr. McLean.
I move that the public hearing be closed at 7:11 PM.
Second.
Moved by McLean, seconded by Bilsbach, that the public hearing be closed at 7:11 PM. Your vote, please. That is approved 7-0. Next is a resolution number 6890, adopting plan modification NN to the redevelopment plan for redevelopment area number 2, the Hydo property.
I move that resolution number 6890 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by McLean, seconded by Morgan, that resolution 6890 be passed and adopted. Any further discussion, gentlemen, needed? Anyone from the audience? And your vote, please. And that is approved 7-0. Resolution number 6890 has been passed and adopted. Short meeting. We don't have any ordinance this evening. Public forum. Purpose of the public forum is for the presentation of an item by the general public to the City Council for consideration at a later date. No discussion or action will be taken by the City Council at this time. Is there anyone here for the public forum? Come on up and give your name and address, please.
Ashley Mason, 1300 Lincoln Street. On Tuesday, May 3rd, City Administrator Tobias Templemeyer called Rob at the City Permit Office and told him he received a call from a citizen who is concerned that 1300 Lincoln Street did not have a building permit for the replacement of their siding. Tobias told Rob that the call was likely politically motivated because the house is the residence of a mayoral candidate, but to go check out and see if they did indeed have a permit. Rob did come and check out my residence later that day, informing my husband of the call he received from Tobias. It was determined that a permit was not needed, citing the code Article 1 and General Section 7.05, subsection 105.2, no permit required for the overlay of existing siding. However, because the call was politically motivated, we were told it might be in our best interest to get an unneeded permit. So, an unneeded permit was acquired at over $200. I called Tobias later on the 3rd and asked why anyone was even sent out to investigate, considering no permit was required per city code. I also asked who accused me of not having a permit. I was beginning to see a pattern of harassment on my property, and I needed to make the best decisions to protect my property. Tobias told me it was city policy to not disclose the information of the informant. I told him it is in fact not city policy. There can be no policy enforced not voted on by the council and available to read to the public. He then said it is his own personal policy and he expects everyone to follow it. I told him that the city administrator cannot make or enforce any policy without the approval of the city council. That by creating and enforcing his own policy, he is in fact in violation of city code. I bring this before the council today. Nowhere in the city code does it give anyone, let alone the city administrator, the authority to make policy. Worse yet, to make policy and require other offices or departments to enforce that policy. If you, City Council and Mayor, allow him to continue this direct violation as his boss, you are legally responsible. Each of you City Council members and Mayor are in violation of your oath of office and City Code Section 2.21 and Section 2.56B. If you do not immediately require him in all city offices to stop this non-policy of withholding information. Tobias Templemeyer is in direct violation of Section 1.7, Section 2.168, Section 2.169, including Section 1.8, where it states that it is unlawful for any person to change or amend any by addition or deletion, any portion of city code. It goes on to say that any person violating this section shall be punished. To create policy, require other city employees to enforce that policy is a direct violation of code. To enforce that illegal policy on the citizens is harassment by a city officer. In Section 2-169, duties of the administrator, it states that the administrator is to act under the direction and control of the mayor and city council. Is it really in your best interest, council members, to have your administrator harassing citizens, the very citizens who elected you to office to represent themselves? Is it really in the best interest of the city to be seen as a council that wants its citizens' constitutional rights violated through poor policy? I was advised by council to submit a Freedom of Information Act. In my request, I asked for the written report and name of the person who called on my alleged violation. After waiting the required 4 business days, I was not provided with the written report of my violation. I was given a letter that stated, and I quote, "The city does not have a report that matches your request," end quote. I was told by your city attorney that one did not exist because it is his and Tobias Templemeyer's own personal policy to not write down the names of those who call in with alleged violations and to not keep record when they instruct other departments to enforce their personal policy. Taylor continued to tell me that he and Tobias feel it is their duty to investigate every call and investigate it with the same mindset as officers who investigate suspected meth labs. I was further advised to bring this grievance directly to the council to ensure that you are aware that your appointed city administrator is creating and enforcing policy against city code, that your city administrator and city attorney are in fact in support of investigating unneeded building code violations and the harassment of the citizens of Beatrice, all based off of calls they keep no record of. If you as the city council and mayor do not resolve the issue of harassment to my family within 24 hours, I will be taking this claim directly to the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, pursuing this legal matter to its fullest extent of the law. I will not continue to be harassed or intimidated by this city and its excessive overreach and violation of my constitutional rights. Each of my constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property are violated with your administration's unlawful and undue overreach and authority. I am disgusted by some of the eye rolls and exasperated sighs that some of you have given over this issue. It is disheartening that you guys do not take this seriously. Your city administrator is in violation of the law, and you do not seem bothered by it. That is upsetting, and I hope that every citizen is made aware of this grievance.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, Mr. Templemeyer, if you would give your monthly report.
Yeah, a couple highlights that are in the monthly report. If anybody's looking to come down to City Hall to pay their bill through the drive-through, it's going to be closed next week. If anybody's been through the drive-through lately, it's getting kind of beat up, needs to be repaired, and so we have that scheduled to be done next week. So it'll be closed from the 23rd to the 31st, just so everybody can make aware of that. We'll have message boards out. We sent it out just so try and get the information out to people. Lincoln Street Corridor Study, we had our second open house last week. We had a good turnout. We had about 50 people there. A lot of good information there. I think JEO is hoping to wrap up that study the next 30 to 45 days, and then we'll have that able to be presented back to this body here. And then armor coating occurs this week as well. If you lived on those streets that are being armor coated, we're talking 12, 13, some of that up in area, 14th Street. You should have gotten a letter notifying you not to park on the street. We're looking at the 18th, 19th, 20th, that time period. They should be done in a day, but we always give them a couple extra ones in case of weather for whatever reason. So if you did get one of those, please don't park on the street. Otherwise, your car will be towed. We don't like to do that.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner.
No charge.
Nope, no charge, but it's always an inconvenience. So if you did get one, please just don't park on the street that day. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, with that, Our next regular scheduled meeting will be on June 6th. I will not be here, so Mr. McLean will take over. And may or may not have a work session on May 23rd, which is next Monday. And with that, Mr. McLean,
I move that the Beatrice City Council go into closed session at 7:19 PM for the protection of public interests to discuss real estate.
Second.
moved by McLean, seconded by Bilsbach, that we go into executive session, what did he say, 1:21 PM? For the protection of public interest to discuss real estate. Your vote, please. That is approved 7-0. Thank you, everyone.